Hello and welcome to News Central TV. I'm Darshan Usman. Top stories at this hour. Shaibu, Ighodalo, others jostle for PDP delegates' vote as PDP Edo primaries holds. Lagos State Governor rolls out measures to cushion effect of economic hardship. Violence in Mozambique's northern region displaces thousands. Details of these stories and more shortly. The news begins in West Africa, where the People's Democratic Party holds its governorship primary in Edo State, southern Nigeria, with 10 aspirants battling for 563 delegates' votes in the indirect primary. And let's bring you live pictures from the venue. At Samuel Ogbemudia Stadium in Benin City, and the 10 PDP aspirants include Edo State Deputy Governor Philip Shaibu, a former chairman of Sterling Bank, Asue Ighodalo, and Blessing Igbenedion, daughter of Esama of Benin Kingdom, Chief Gabriel Igbenedion. Now, the Edo State PDP chairman, Tony Ezigbemi, said the party was ready to conduct free, fair, and credible primary election that will be a reference for future primary elections in the country.
14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31.
31, they are complete. From eastern, southwest, and eastern, west local government, please get ready. 31 action, 31 accredited.
We'll bring you more from the Edo PDP primaries shortly. But in the meantime, let's tell you that the Lagos State Governor, Southwest Nigeria, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, on Thursday said his administration would be reducing public servants' working days as part of plans to cushion the cost of living crisis in the country. Addressing residents of the state during a live interview on the rising cost of food, the governor added that his administration would open more markets where Lagosians can buy food items at discounted rates. Governor Sanwo-Olu said the 25% reduction in transportation services will start this weekend for the state public transport system, including bus, train, ferry. The governor noted that his administration was also in discussions with various transport unions to reduce their fares.
We're planning to do? We're planning to build a storage facility, cold, dry facility that can help push, when we have to push produce and product to our citizens, using that hub as a receiver, of large produce. So we're going to be having even trading, facilities there. This is the hub that will be doing things like the aggregator, ensure that all of the yam people that are coming from Benue, all of the tomato they can have offtake from there. They can know that once they're coming, there's somebody that will write the check. And that facility will be able to, the ones that will not go to the market because of perishability, and storage, will have the opportunity to stay in that facility. And we're happy that we took that decision 2 years ago. The facility will be ready, should be completed before the end of this year. And it's something that we're truly grateful for, that we took that decision.
The President of the Senate, Julius Abure, has revealed that the federal government recently disbursed 30 billion naira to each of the 36 state governments to tackle the food crisis. He disclosed this during plenary as lawmakers debated necessary measures to prevent the looming famine and make foodstuff affordable for Nigerians. Nigerian citizens are currently grappling with food crises caused by insecurity, ballooning inflation, and the eroding purchasing power of the masses. However, Akpabio claimed that the President Bola Tinubu-led government has provided funds to all the state governments to ensure that food is available across the country. Now, to discuss this, I'm being joined by Aisha Yusuf, and she is an active Nigerian citizen. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining me, Aisha.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so this actually seems to be news to a lot of people, the disbursement of 30 billion naira extra to tackle food crisis. And so many questions are being asked. When exactly did this happen? When did the disbursement happen? And why are we just finding out about it?
And I think also another question that needs to be asked is that, is it just the usual printing of money, another set money being printed and just dumped in the economy? These are some of the things that have led to the inflation that we have currently today. But let's not also forget that what 30 billion naira can buy, the food items that it can buy today, it's probably what 15 billion or even less would have bought maybe 6 months ago. So you have this money out there, but how far can they go? And one thing that's really quite important is that people want disposable income. People want to be able to earn money. And so what is the government also doing for there to bring in programs where people are earning money? What are the capital things that they're doing for people to be able to have access to money and be able to take care of themselves? But of course, like all this issue of money is being shared, it's always what we do in our country here, where there's always that go to Abuja, collect money, come back home, and you find out that even most governors are not thinking, they don't think about how is it that they're going to help their own economy beyond just going to Abuja to collect allocation.
All right, just, just linking to what you just said lastly, that most of the governors don't even, think about how they're going to move the economy. Does this actually define the transparency level of the government? Do you think this government is transparent at all and accountable?
Absolutely not. It hasn't shown any transparency and accountability. And the fact that now, I think one of the things that the federal government is trying to do is to say, oh, this is not our problem. And that's what they have done with this particular government, as far as I'm concerned, which is an illegitimate government anyways, that, oh, it's not our problem, it's other people's problem. It's either opposition that is doing it now, we've given governors money, but let's not forget they take 60% of whatever it's earned. The local government and the state government just have to share the remaining part of it. So just giving up this money, it's not enough. People want to go to the farms to be able to farm and be able to earn money. We have a lot of our farmers that have been displaced. A good number of them have been killed. Some are in IDP camps. Some have had to leave their places, and they're not going to farm. And that is directly affecting us. What is the federal government doing about the security of the state? Let's not forget that security is solely in the hands of the federal government. So what is being done to secure lives, to ensure that citizens are able to go to their farms, those who farm, and be able to have food for everyone? There are other things that have to be tackled. There are policies that are biting. It's not just to give a 30 billion because it's depreciating. You give out the 30 billion, what is it that you're going to earn with it? What are you going to buy with it? These are some of the things that need to be done. So there are fiscal policies that need to be done, and also monetary policies. And this is where the federal government comes in, and they need to do more, not just to shift, responsibility. And so we've given them so amount, so go off to them. Don't come to us. Don't complain to us. That's not the way it should go.
Well, most of the fiscal and monetary policies don't seem to be effective. But then Akpabio has actually come out to blame opposition for sponsoring protests, and also blamed them for being responsible for forex scarcity and, other things. Now, what does this say about our leaders? Would you say that they're detached from reality? In fact, the fact that they don't even have an idea that the masses are in hunger, the masses are actually suffering, and that is the reason why they are protesting and not being sponsored to do so?
Well, I think the first thing I would like to say is that excuses are like shoes, and you always find the one that fits. So if you're looking for excuse, you'll find it. There are 1,000,001 that can fit whatever situation that you want to make excuse for. And another thing also is the fact that we have rulers. They are not even leaders. They are rulers who don't take responsibility. And unfortunately, because there's so much of a state capture, legislative capture, judicial capture, media capture, and so there are some people who think they own the country and they will do what they want to do, irrespective of whether there are citizens or no citizens. And during election is when there are consequences. And most of them, they've perfected the act of rigging election and favoring themselves, even when citizens don't want that. So that's why they will make this kind of reckless statements and get away with it. The thing is that there is hunger in the land, and opposition doesn't need to cause hunger. It's not the one causing hunger. It's the policies of the government that has caused this hunger and the hardship that it's on ground. To come and be blaming opposition when people are hungry, they're on the street telling you that they can't feed. It's rascality of the highest order, if I may use that word. And of course, one of the things also that I would like to say to them, if you're supposedly in government, you have the machineries of the state, you have the state resources, and you're not able to solve problems. There's somebody in opposition, like you say, is causing the problem, then probably you don't have business being in office.
All right. Thank you so much, Aisha Yusuf, for joining me at this time. I really wish we could actually discuss more on this. But
thank you for having me.
We appreciate you for your time.
Thank you.
All right, so let's take you back to Edo, where we join News Central's correspondent, Bernard Akede, who is on the ground monitoring all the developments in Edo State. Hello, Bernard. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Dasha.
All right, so what's the mood like in Edo State in view of the PDP governorship primary election holding today already?
All right, I'll explain first of all, and then I'll give you a view of what's going on. It's a bit noisy here because we are in the tennis court of the Samuel Ogbaloi Stadium, and there's a lot of noise coming out from the speakers and the public address system. Now, onto my right here is where the delegates are. All the delegates from the 18 local government areas in Edo State, all seated on the right here. Voting has started already. So what happens is the person announcing calls them alphabetically as the local government delegates. They come out from the gates and then they all queue up there, just behind me there. Now, these trail of tables that you see here are the tables where they pick up their ballot papers. They pick up the ballot papers and then they walk all the way to this other side here to my left, where what they're practicing is open secret ballot. And it is called that because they go behind those polling booths, as you see. They thumbprint on the candidate they want secretly, and then they come back to the open and then place the ballot papers into the boxes. As you can see, it's going there. It's pretty much organized. It didn't start on time as we expected it to start, sadly, but it actually is organized. And then finally, all the way behind me right there, under the pavilion right there, is where you have the dignitaries. The governor of Edo State is there. The candidates are there. The governor of Zamfara State, who is the chairperson of this occasion, is also there. The governor of Delta State is also there as well. And some other dignitaries, some ex-governors, some ambassadors, and dignitaries basically who have come to grace the occasion.
All right, Bernard, were you able to speak to any of the 10 aspirants? What are they saying about their chances of emerging victorious?
Unfortunately, we're not able to speak to any of them today, and you can understand how busy today's process has been, right from the accreditation. As a matter of fact, during the accreditation, we were unable to go in because it was very, very restricted to press. But eventually they come here, but not all 10 of them were here eventually. I apologize for the noise again. Of all the candidates, or rather aspirants, 2 of them are women, but I think only about 7 aspirants were here. Notably absent was the deputy governor of Edo State, who is also one of the candidates. He is not present here. But also notable to mention is the fact that Asue Igodalo, who apparently seems to be favored or loved by the people, when he stepped out to give his, manifesto, his voice was almost submerged by the cheers of the crowd. That, of course, gave some kind of signal as to who the people are interested in, so to speak. And I think I will chip it in here that this same candidate, or would I say aspirant, Asue Ighodalo, seems to be the brother of the popular Pastor Ighodalo, whom we know very well in Lagos. He sat right behind Asue Ighodalo here, and he also got some cheers when his brother, I believe, was giving his mini manifesto, so to speak.
All right, we really have to let you go now because there's too much noise coming in from the background. But thank you so much, Ben Adekede, for joining me, and we'll definitely reconnect with you for more information.
Thank you for having me.
All right, with that, we'll take a quick break, and when we come back, News Central Now continues. All right, welcome back, and thank you for staying with us. You're still watching News Central Now. Now, still talking about the economic crisis and the federal government giving each state government, and this particular statement is attributed to the Senate President Godswill Akpabio, stating that each state was actually given 30 billion naira to solve the current food crisis bedeviling the nation. We actually have public affairs commentator Gbenga Ayonuga joining us right now. Hello, Gbenga. Thank you so much for joining us on the news.
Yeah, good afternoon. Thank you for having me on this.
All right, so many questions are actually being asked about, this particular topic, talking about the 30 billion naira being given to state governments. What are your thoughts about it, and why do you think we're just finding out about it? And what does this say about how transparent our government is to the masses?
Thank you very much. Even before this announcement, I've been critical of the state governors because before now, I think since around July, August last year, the amount of money coming to the coffers of each state has increased drastically as a result of the saving that is claimed to have been made from the fuel subsidy removal. Take, for example, a state like Ogun State, where I come from, is reported to have had about 66% increment in the amount that comes to them from the federal coffers, even before this 30 billion naira. And you'd ask yourself that the level of responsiveness of the government or of the governors in the state, with the exception of the governor of Borno State, Governor Babagana Zulum, whom we are hearing about, but even hearing about it, based on my experience, I still want to doubt because there are some places where governors knows how to place postal, do radio and TV theatrics without actually really doing anything on the ground. But at least we are hearing constantly something happening in Borno State. But apart from that state, you'd ask yourself that what are the other 36 states doing with the increment in funds coming to them, and then this special increment in funds coming to them. Now, I listened to Aisha Yusuf earlier on saying that it seems that the federal government is tactically trying to abdicate its duty and trying to say, oh, we are not the one to blame, it is the state governors to be blamed. I want to agree with her on one part, but on the other part, we know that the presidency or the people at the federal level cannot solve our problem, and that is why we have state and the local government. And if some things have been delegated to the state and funds have been made available, we should query our state governors, because if our state governors are doing enough, pulling their weight as much as we expect the federal government to pull their weight, then things would not have been as bad.
Yeah, but Gbenga, but why do you think that the state governments have actually been quiet or silent about the whole, additional fund allocation?
It is because of this unitary system that we have of federalism. It is easy to blame the federal government. Everybody finds it easy to direct attention, to direct blame to the federal government. If not for the kind of person that Senate President Godswill Akpabio is, he was the one that made the statement about sending prayers to their email account. And because the kind of person he is, maybe the kind of local politics they play in the state where he came from, they speak their mind without, the fear of whose ox is God. And so he's used to it. Now coming to national prominence, he can't change from the way he talks. And if not for that kind of person that he is, that makes him to be able to give all this information, I'm sure that many governors are not happy that these informations are coming to light. you know, because if the information did not come to light, they wouldn't be having people questioning them. So this united Nigeria that we have is making a lot of people to hide behind one finger, to do a lot of bad things. If we had a system like the UK where Scotland take care of itself, Wales take care of itself, Ireland take care of itself, Britain take care of itself, and then little it ties them together at the federal level, then we will not be in the mess that we are in. And that speaks to the call by maybe the House recently for us to go back to the parliamentary system, but that one is a discussion for another day. So I see that the governors themselves do not, and that is why in many states they hate the Freedom of Information Bill. If any journalist comes to them to ask about Freedom of Information Bill, they make the journalist disappear. We've heard of several allegations of that across many states across the country. And so we should question more the state governors for their inability to be transparent and to show for, I mean, you showed earlier on in the news the interactive session that the Lagos State governor is having with the people through the media to tell us what plans are on ground, what they are doing. And if all the other state governors are doing the same thing that Lagos State government is doing, at least we'll be carried along. We'll be able to know that within XYZ timeline, this and this are what to expect. So, but that is not the case across all the states.
All right, well, thank you so much, Benga, for joining me and also shedding more light on this issue. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
All right, to more economic hardship stories. Former Nigerian Vice President Atiku Abubakar recently launched a scathing attack on the economic policies of President Bola Tinubu's administration, blaming the government's wrong policies for the spiraling currency fluctuation, rising poverty, and overall economic distress plaguing the nation. In this report, Lekan Onobanjo takes a look at the alternative solutions preferred by Atiku and how well it will change the country's deplorable economic narrative.
In a statement, the ex-vice president and presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party in Nigeria, Atiku Abubakar, slammed the hastily implemented forex management policy of the Bola Tinubu-led administration, claiming it lacked proper planning and stakeholder consultation. He said this, including the restriction of the country's apex bank from total independence, are causing retrogression for the largest economy in Africa.
If you look at the policies, is it the removal of fuel subsidy or the floating of the naira? It was more or less like an impromptu action with Atiku, especially as regard what is happening now in the area of the exchange rate. If you want to do floating system, you need to have the liquidity and you need to know what is the true value of your currency. About the independence of the CBN, I think I don't totally agree with him. Because again, the CBN is not totally independent. It's only independent when it comes to monetary policy.
Instead of the current free-floating system, Atiku advocated for a gradualist approach, that is, a managed float system. This would, according to him, allow the naira to fluctuate daily, but the CBN would strategically intervene to control and stabilize its value, curbing speculative activities.
The challenge the naira has now, why it has moved to where it is just based on a lack of supply. It's a supply issue.
The presidency, however, swiftly responded to Atiku's criticisms, vehemently rejecting his proposed controlled float and other claims, citing figures from the National Bureau of Statistics for Q4 2023 that Nigeria recorded a 66.27% increase in capital inflow from $654.65 million to $1.09 billion compared with Q3 2023.
They will come up with a counter claim. It's less for us to know if that counter claim is even working. Because whatever counter claim they are saying, they have attract capital importation. But you and I just got to know that capital importation has also been greatly reduced.
While both Atiku and the presidency acknowledge the dire situation, their proposed solutions still have crucial questions unanswered. That is, will Tinubu's reform succeed in bringing economic stability? And when will Nigerians find reprieve in this harsh economic situation? In Lagos, for News Central, Lekan Onobanjo.
Thank you, Lekan, for that report. Now, the national chairman of Labour Party of Nigeria, Julius Abure, who was arrested on Wednesday in Benin City, Edo State capital, by operatives of Zone 5 Police Headquarters, has been released on bail. It was gathered that his arrest was a result of a petition forwarded to the zone from the Office of the Inspector General of Police in Abuja. After his release around 2 a.m. on Thursday, Abure, while addressing his supporters, said the struggle to liberate the people does not come easy. He said his persecution, meant to destabilize the party, started after the general elections in 2023. Abure said the state chairman, Kelly Ogbaloi, and the state youth leader were still being held and would likely be released later today. News Central now continues right after this break. We now head to the south of the continent, where a new outbreak of violence in northern Mozambique, the site of a jihadi insurgency, has forced thousands of people into fleeing their homes, according to the United Nations numbers and Cabo Delgado province officials. An alert from the United Nations Migration Agency says recent attacks in the Makomia Chure, the Mekufi district, also have relocated 13,088 individuals, the majority of whom are children. The recent escape from the settlement of Ochua was the result of retaliatory assaults after Mozambican and Rwandan forces foiled an effort to kidnap children. Mozambique's President Felipe Nyusi confirmed increased population movements but downplayed the threat, claiming security personnel had the situation under control. Now to discuss this, we're joined by Galicio Masango, his project manager from the Institute for Multi-Party Democracy. Hello, Mr. Masango. Thank you so much for joining me. All right, so if you can hear me, can you provide an analysis of the factors that actually contributing to the new outbreak of unrest in northern Mozambique, particularly in the context of the existing jihadi insurgency? All right, Mr. Masango, can you unmute your device? All right, we still cannot hear you. All right, we can hear you now. Thank you for joining us. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, I was saying actually there are different facts that do contribute for these attacks resuming after long periods of continued control by the national or by pro-governmental forces. After the conflict peaking in 2021, the government asked for support from international foreign support from the SAMIM, which is SADC countries' forces, and also Rwandan forces. And since then, significant improvement have been registered. And in 2022 and 2023, significant progress has been registered on the battlefield, and that's why population have been returning to their original home, original residences. However, recently, we believe maybe one of the reasons for this conflict resuming will be the fact that, for example, recently, the group's leader here in Mozambique, which is Bonamar, was killed in the last year. And probably this could be some indication, some movement from the terrorist groups trying to show that after losing their leader, they have restructured themselves and probably they have a new leader. So probably the new leader wants to show his power, and show that the group is actually there. And also the political context, whereby we have some companies from the exotic industry sector that had stopped operating in Cabo Delgado, which have announced that by the end of this year, they will be announcing So resuming the attack in this context could probably increase the attack's international attention, and maybe the group wants to take advantage of this context where any actions could probably increase the international.
All right, Mr. Masango, please, if you can hear me, can you please go ahead? Can you hear me? Please, can you go ahead and tell us what the key challenges are that are actually being faced by the authorities, especially in addressing the ongoing crisis and also providing assistance to those who have been displaced by this unrest?
Oh, yes. Actually, there are many challenges. As we know, before the conflict, our government faces significant huge, if I'm allowed to say so, as challenges related to the state budget, which is highly limited. And also because of this conflict, this means humanitarian support from the government and also civil society organizations, non-governmental organizations that are on the field trying to support the victims of this conflict. It becomes more challenging to reach these areas because the security conditions are not in place. Some roads might be blocked sometimes, and there is a fear regarding the security of people who will probably be providing the assistance to those people. And also, we know there are significant investments that have been affected by this conflict. So this means on the long term could also affect the state's capacity to provide assistance for the victims, but also in terms of promoting development in the area, since the conditions are critical, are limited at this moment.
All right. Well, earlier you actually talked about assistance, and in what ways has the international community responded to the situation in northern Mozambique, and what more do you think can be done to support efforts in order to restore stability and security in that region?
Yes, actually, since the moment the government accepted and realized that the situation was very complex, the international support has been significant and has played a key role on the improvement we've registered since 2021. And it continues to be relevant. For now, after these recent attacks, some embassies have come to public, demanding their citizens not to travel to the most affected district. And this could also mean, for example, regarding Total and other extractive industry sector companies who are operating in the country, this could delay their resuming to the operation to Capital Guard because of the conflict situation. But we think moving forward, the international community will play a significant role to solve the situation. We also have the support.
All right, Mr. Masango, if you can hear me, thank you so much for joining me. Sadly, time is not on our side, and we'll have to wrap up here. But we appreciate you for taking time out to speak to us on this. You're watching News Central now. Still ahead. UK Parliament descends into chaos over Israel-Gaza vote. We'll bring you more on this when we return. Thank you for staying with us. Now, it was supposed to be a significant debate in the UK Parliament in which the opposition parties could use the opportunity to set the agenda to call for a ceasefire in the Israel-Gaza war. But instead, the House of Commons resembled a playground with MPs shouting and the Speaker of the House struggling to keep things under control. For News Central, our international correspondent, Hagen, has been taking a look at what happened.
A debate in the UK Parliament on calls for a ceasefire in Gaza descended into chaos after the Speaker of the House was accused of allowing it to be hijacked by the Labour Party. It was Opposition Day, when opposition parties can set the agenda in the Commons. It was the Scottish National Party's turn, and they wanted the Commons to vote to demand an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. The governing Conservatives put through an amendment, and so did Labour. Opposition parties very, very rarely get to amend other opposition parties' propositions. Sir Lindsay Hoyle, the Speaker of the House, who is supposed to remain impartial, sparked fury from the SNP and Conservatives when he broke with convention to allow a vote on a Labour motion for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire. The Speaker later apologised, saying he had acted with the right intentions, but the SNP said they had been treated with complete and utter contempt. Labour's amendment went through to loud shouts of aye without a formal vote, after the government said it would not take part in protest. This means there was no vote on the SNP's motion, which called for an immediate ceasefire and was originally meant to be the focus of the debate. The government does not have to adopt Labour's position, as the vote is not binding. In extraordinary scenes, SNP MPs and some Tories walked out of the chamber over the Speaker's handling of the vote. Following calls for him to return to explain his decision, Sir Lindsay Hoyle told the Commons he chose to allow a vote for the Labour motion so MPs could express their view on the widest range of propositions. Amid shouts of resign, he said, "I thought I was doing the right thing and the best thing, and I regret it, and I apologise for how it's ended up." The debate took place as thousands of pro-Palestinian demonstrators gathered in Parliament Square. The Speaker of the House's decision meant Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer avoided another potential rebellion over the party's position on Gaza, as Labour MPs were able to show their support for a ceasefire without voting for an SNP motion. The SNP motion went further than Labour's by calling for an end to the collective punishment of the Palestinian people. Earlier this week, Labour shifted its position to call for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire, following months of pressure from backbenchers and activists. The government is calling for an immediate humanitarian pause, as well as supporting moves towards a permanent, sustainable ceasefire. Israel launched its operation in Gaza following an attack by Hamas on southern Israel on October 7th, during which about 1,200 people were killed and more than 240 taken hostage. Since then, Israel's military campaign has killed more than 29,000 people in Gaza, according to the Palestinian Territory's Hamas-run health ministry. Afia Hagen, News Central.
Now joining us to give us more insight is our international correspondent, Afia Hagen. Now, Afia, the stir in the Commons yesterday was down to this amendment. What were the main differences in what each of the political parties wanted, especially when calling for an end to fighting in Gaza?
Well, this is where we really drill down into the semantics of what each party wanted. So first of all, you had the Scottish National Party, who were the opposition party, who were actually chairing yesterday's vote. Remember, it was Opposition Day, so it was their rare opportunity to chair a debate, and they wanted it to be about Gaza. So they said that they wanted an immediate ceasefire. They used the words that they wanted to stop the slaughter of innocent civilians, and they condemned the collective punishment of Palestinians. And that language alludes to Israel committing war crimes. So that's what the SNP wanted. They wanted an immediate ceasefire. The Labour Party wanted an immediate humanitarian ceasefire. It emphasized the role of Hamas as well as the role of Israel in pausing fighting, and they called for a rapid and unimpeded humanitarian aid to be let into Gaza. So the government wanted an immediate humanitarian pause as a best way to stop the fighting. They still stressed and supported Israel's right to defend itself. And they also supported moves towards a permanent, sustainable ceasefire. So it's different ways in talking about a ceasefire, basically. The SNP wanted an immediate ceasefire. Labour wanted an immediate humanitarian ceasefire, and the government wanted an immediate humanitarian pause. What's the difference between all of these things? Well, it really comes down to how you recognise each side's part in what is happening in Gaza. By the SNP, for instance, saying that they wanted to stop the use of collective punishment, that is implying that Israel's committed war crimes. By the government saying they wanted an immediate humanitarian pause, perhaps for aid to be let into Gaza and for hostages to be released, means that they are okay with fighting resuming because they're on the side of Israel retaining the right to defend itself. It does sound like semantics, it's drilling down into the language, but actually those little tweaks and the differences in phrasing amounts to very different things when it comes to Gaza and when it comes to Israel. But the biggest part of this is that nobody in Israel or Hamas will recognize anything that the UK Parliament are saying. So even though they can come out and say, we want an immediate humanitarian pause or a ceasefire in Gaza, it actually won't make any difference.
Okay, Afia. Now, there's actually a lot of talk about Sir Lindsay Hoyle, the Speaker of the House of Commons this morning. Who is he?
Well, the Speaker of the House of Commons, who in this instance is Sir Lindsay Hoyle, he took over from Sir John Bercow in 2019. The Speaker of the House is the chair of the House, so to speak, and he is supposed to be neutral, so neither Conservative nor Labour, not in government, not in opposition. He is like the referee between these two sides, and it's his job to keep the peace in Parliament. Now, why there's been so much talk about Sir Lindsay Hoyle this morning is that a lot of people, especially in the SNP, feel that Sir Lindsay Hoyle isn't being impartial, that he came down on the side of the Labour opposition by allowing them to join the debate and in some ways hijack the debate. Lots of Tory MPs saying as well, look, he's clearly on the left. Now, Sir Lindsay Hoyle has come out and said that no, he's not that person, that he is neutral, that he is just chairing this debate. And what he wanted to do was make sure the MPs across the board had the right to vote on the many different propositions in this bill.
All right, well, thank you so much, Afia, for giving us that update. And with that, we'll wrap up the news at this hour. But before we go, let's take another look at some of our top stories. You heard that Shaibu Ighodalo, others are jostling for PDP delegates' votes as PDP Edo primaries hold. Lagos State Governor has rolled out measures to cushion effects of economic hardship. We also told you that violence in Mozambique's northern region has displaced thousands. Send your eyewitness reports to the WhatsApp number on the screen. Do follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I'm Darshan Usman.